My turn. My predictions. Now, I said at the start of the stream, as you guys were doing your predictions, that mine were actually extremely similar to yours for upper round 1. In fact, in some cases, identical. I don't think anyone will be surprised I'm predicting G2 to 3-0 Gaming Gladiators. Gaming Gladiators, first APAC South team to qualify for an RCS line. Congrats to them. But they're up against the top seed G2, and I don't think they're taking a game. Furia Karmine Corp. I thought chat were going to vote Karmine Corp to win this one. And I thought I was going to have to disagree, but you guys actually went Furia 3-1, I believe. I don't think it's going to be 3-1. I think it's going to be 3-2, but I do think Furia will take this. Furia had strong showings twice against Endpoint in the Winter Major. They beat Endpoint 2 times. And I think Karmine Corp are kind of at a similar level to what Endpoint were there. So I think Furia will probably be the favorites here. I think they're going to take it over EU's number 4 team. I really rate Furia very highly, so I've got them winning there. Now, V1 Endpoint, you guys had V1 winning 3-2. Now, I'm going to use my scorelines to indicate how confident I am in a prediction. If it's a 3-0, I'm very confident. 3-2, that's like, very close series. 3-1, quietly confident. Now, I'm actually quietly confident the V1 will win this. They started off really strong in the Winter Major with they beat Queso, now Moist, in their second series. Beat FaZe in their opening series. So, out of the gate, V1 started strong. I'm expecting them to do the same thing again. And Endpoint, it's not the same roster as before. They've got Archie instead of Seiko. They have actually struggled early in both majors so far. They opened up the Fall Major losing to Renegades, and they've opened up the Winter Major losing to Furia twice. So I think they actually started off their tournament with revenge on Renegades. Then they managed to lose to Furia after that. So yeah, I think Endpoint start a bit slow, V1 start fast. I'm quietly confident about that one. Otherwise, I'd say they are close teams. It's a 3-2 in terms of skill, but weighing in other factors, I think V1 have that. Moist Envy, you guys said 3-0, and I think I agree. Now, I do think Envy are getting too much criticism. This is the... there's Relating Wave, Metza, Archie on Endpoint, for anyone who's wondering. Archie instead of Seiko this time around. But Envy missed Dree's Illusion. They've also got Turbo as substitute, so who knows if we'll see him. I think they're getting a bit too much stick. I think they're getting a bit too much hate for, not being in the same level as all the other NA teams. I don't think it's that big of a gap, to be honest. I mean, if you look at the RLCS points, wait, where is it? Let me go to the current rankings. Rankings for NA Spring Split. They're literally 10 points behind SSG. 10. They're like the same. SSG had a second place, Envy had a third. Envy consistently made top 6 every time. And SSG actually bombed out really early one event. I mean, Spring Regional 2 is the one that SSG lost both to XSET, and that put them in a bracket where they had to beat Ghost, and then they lost to V1. So they lost to XSET. Envy were beating teams like XSET, all split. So Envy actually proven that they're the more consistent team, all split. SSG have a higher ceiling, Envy higher floor. So I think they're getting too much hate. Look at Envy's matchups though in the regionals. I have. Okay, let's do that. Let's look at Envy's matchups in the regionals. So Envy in regional number 1, they beat they lost to Complexity, but then they beat Oxygen, they beat Rogue, and that's the same Rogue that beat NRG. That's the same Oxygen that took SSG to Game 5. But yeah, they literally beat the team that eliminated NRG, and people are saying NRG are better than Envy and they should be at LAN. Like, no, Envy beat the team that eliminated NRG 3-0. What are you talking about? Like, they did well. Number 2. Where's Envy in this one? Envy, they got their revenge on Complexity. They beat XSET, who beat SSG. So again, Envy are beating the teams who beat the teams that are supposed to be better than them. So clearly they have a high floor. Other teams like NRG and Space Station are dropping series to teams like Rogue and XSET. Envy are beating those teams every time they get put up against them. They got their revenge on Complexity, who are a solid performance in this event. A Complexity who beat FaZe, Envy wiped the floor with them. I think people are underrating Envy. But that being said, I do think Moist, they've hit their form again. If I hadn't seen that performance from Moist this weekend, I wouldn't have been predicting this on 3-0, but Moist this weekend, looked pretty crazy. I think they've hit their form again. I think they've got their confidence back. That's bad news for everybody else because, yeah, Moist is back based on what we just saw. Stunning performance in the last regional. And that's why I've got them winning 3-0. Not because I think Envy's bad, because I think Moist is back at their best. BDS Secret. You guys had this one 3-0, and I actually do agree with you there. I think BDS are just very good, very solid at beating teams who are below them right now. They might have, trouble with the teams at their level, as seen, Endpoint and Moist being able to take them down in the most recent regional. But the way that BDS play is so solid, so consistent, that I don't see Secret being a problem for them. Secret are a very mechanical team, and they might surprise other teams who are giving them space in the midfield to make their plays, but BDS don't really do that. They just apply so much pressure. So I think it's not going to be a good matchup for Secret. But I think Secret could thrive in other matches against more defensive teams who are taking more risks. Yeah, this is a bad one for them, in my opinion. So Space Station Pioneers, you guys had 3-1, and you know what? I actually agree, because I think, well, we saw this exact same matchup at Winter, and this is the score that we got. Since then, I think Pioneers have improved. So although I think Space Station will have a better start to the series, because they didn't start off as strong, they know what to expect now from Pioneers. I still think Pioneers are good enough to get a game, though. I'm impressed with this team and the improvement that they've made. I think that's only going to continue if they can get out early enough, and if they can boot camp for the event as well. Yeah, definitely keep your eye on that team. Okay, FaZe Power. I don't think Power take a game. You guys, I don't think you guys did either. Power is a former Ground Zero roster. It's just a tough one, isn't it? It's a really tough one. FaZe is kind of like BDS. They're just on a different level in these matchups. Too consistent, too solid. FaZe at Majors have been very consistent. So I don't think Power will get a game against them. I don't think FaZe are going to look vulnerable early here, like they did in the Winter Major group stage, where they lost a game to Detonator. I think FaZe now are a different FaZe. Sypical's confidence looks significantly improved, so I think rating FaZe similarly to the Winter Major would be a mistake, because I think they do look a lot better now. That's why I'm going to go 3-0 here. Okay, the Liquid Falcons. I think the marquee matchup round 1, I think it's the best match of the entire first round. Ridiculously hype, ridiculous mechanics on show. Now, it's going to be Team Liquid's LAN debut as a roster. And meanwhile for Falcons, this team, Khaled, TRK, and not Senzo, sorry, Khaled, TRK, Ahmad, have played a ton of LANs in Saudi Arabia together. Now, a lot of you might say, well, those aren't RLCS LANs, worthless. But I don't really agree. Part of what's difficult about playing on LAN is being used to playing in an environment where there's lots of distractions that wouldn't usually be present. If you're playing online, you're probably in your bedroom or in part of your house. It's calm, it's where you're used to playing, everything's what you're familiar with. Now, Falcons have actually thrived in several LANs in Saudi Arabia against the same competition that they're destroying online. So clearly, if they could do it online, they're doing it just as well, if not better, on LANs. So this is a team with a ton of LAN experience, and everybody knows they're a sick team. So I have to lean towards them, but I'm going to give it a 3-2 because I think it's a very close match. Yeah, Falcons, LAN, they've got a ton of recent, relevant LAN experience. I think the LAN experience from way back in the day, I hate to say it to him, but Metsonoris, I don't think the LAN experience he got from Vegas in 2019 is relevant anymore. It's too far gone. Whereas Falcons, they played a LAN literally last week. They won it in stunning fashion. I think that's relevant. I think that's good practice for Landed. They're prepping really well. So let's go lower bracket. You guys had 3-0, and I agree. I don't think Gaming Gladiators have got a good bracket here at all. This is going to be a tough one. Debut LAN for them as well. And Karmine Corp, I think, are just too mechanical. The difference will be too significant. These are not the teams, like, Gaming Gladiators having to go against G2 and Karmine Corp. That's just not I think that's just not the draw that they would have wanted. I think they'd much rather play against teams like Endpoint, who are more defensive and would, probably give them a few more chances to make plays. They'd probably want to play against teams who are, lower down in the rankings. Teams like Team Secret, maybe the OCE teams, but maybe even an Envy is quite a defensive roster. But these very fast, very mechanical rosters, I don't think that is a good thing for Gladiators to go up against. It's too new to them. So I'm going to have to say 3-0. OSM, not a single game, give you something. I'm just being honest. 3-0 is when I'm extremely confident in a prediction. I'm using 3-0 to indicate that. 3-1 when I'm quietly confident, and 3-2 when it's very, very close. That's just what I'm doing here. And I think I'm very, very confident Karmine Corp will beat Gaming Gladiators. Therefore, I'm putting a 3-0. I don't like that matchup for them. All right, Endpoint Envy. This is a game where you guys went 3... What did you guys do? You went 3-1, I think, here. I think I'm going to go 3-2 here, actually. Because Endpoint have got a history of not making things easy for themselves. And I think Envy are being underrated by a lot of people as well. So I think it could be closer than a lot of people think. Tough to know what kind of Endpoint we're going to see. I really like Endpoint as a team. It's phenomenal to see Metsonoris back in RLCS land playing in front of a crowd. But once again, because he's done it in winter as well. But yeah, Metza had a terrible fall major. Relating Wave had a terrible winter major. Archie had a very good fall major, but that was a different team. It's hard to know how good they're going to be. Yeah, they did well in the most recent online event, but they're not consistent. So I'm not confident in this prediction. That's why I'm putting a 3-2, but I do think Endpoint will win. Oh no, yeah, he didn't make Crowd. You're right. He actually got eliminated before Crowd this time. So yeah, first time back in front of Crowd. Yeah, that team, they've not performed well on LAN yet this season. Endpoint have not. They scraped through Swiss, kind of like I expected, and lost to FaZe, and they didn't play well. They lost to Furia twice last time around. You know, they're not playing as well on LAN as they are online. Whereas Envy have got LAN Lucian. I think Dries did reasonably well. Probably the best player for G2, at least on day one, in the fall. So I think this team could do pretty well compared to what people think. But yeah, that's only closing the gap, not turning the tables. Secret Pioneers. I agree with you guys. I think 3-2 Pioneers. I think Secret are solid, but I think Pioneers have done something that no other OCE team has been able to do, and that is close the mechanical gap. I think there's been a gap mechanically in every single LAN that's ever happened, and OCE's been on the receiving end of it. I think they've been second best mechanically. They've made up for that with, you know, teamwork and other things not mechanics, rotation and just, I don't know, being prepared. They prepare very well, but yeah, Pioneers look like the most mechanical team to ever play a LAN for OCE, and I think that's really going to help them in a matchup against a very mechanical opponent, where I think they can just be more organized, be the overall more consistent team, get another win for OCE over SAM. Because OCE has never lost to SAM on LAN. Renegades have 2 wins on Furia, and even before that, back in the day, Renegades, I think, beat the 3 Sins in Season 8. So yeah, OCE seems to do quite well against SAM, and this is the most mechanical OCE team ever. So I'm gonna go Pioneers. I respect Team Secret enough to give them 2 here. Right, Power Liquid. I think I'll give Power a game here. I didn't give them a game against FaZe because I think FaZe are just going to be too consistent. We've seen what these guys can do on LAN. Liquid, more of a question mark because this will be their first LAN together, and I think that Power will maybe be able to sneak a game at some point. Maybe Liquid are playing too defensive, trying to wait for mistakes instead of trying to use their mechanical advantage like I think they should. You know, aggression on LAN seems to be the winning strategy in my opinion, but I think Team Liquid might be a bit afraid to lose this match. If they're in lower bracket round 1, they might be thinking, okay, let's not lose this. You know, we can't lose to Power here. We don't lose to OCE. And I think that could get them a game loss at some point. But overall, I think Liquid are a far better team mechanically, far better team individually, and yeah, they've looked great online. So I think that's going to transition, and they're going to, quietly confident here. But I don't think it's as crushing as like KC Gladiators. There's not as big of a difference here between these teams. Okay, upper bracket, round 1, G2 versus Furia. You guys had G2, I think, winning 3-1, I believe. Yeah, the way that I've played this out, Pioneers and Renegades would go to Worlds and Power would miss it. Unless Pioneers can get like top 6, then they'd bring Power with them as well by auto-qualifying. Yeah, Power got a really bad bracket. Power and Gaming Gladiators have got the toughest brackets by far, I think. Yeah, a bit unfortunate for Power to draw a bracket like this. It's kind of because Falcons are underseeded because they weren't at the Winter Major. I think if Falcons were at the Winter Major, they'd probably finish top 6, maybe top 4, based on how easy that group looked. So I think Falcons probably win the group can definitely beat V1 in upper semis, and then there's up 3, and suddenly they're not in this bracket anymore, they're somewhere else. But that's, not what happened, and now they're seated here, so the bracket's stacked. Okay, I actually agree with you guys, G2 Furia. I'm not going to go 3-2, because I do think I'm quietly confident G2 are going to win this one. Furia are insane, but G2 have proven that what they do works extremely well on LAN, and I think having a LAN win under their belt only makes them more dangerous, not complacent, as some people seem to think. Okay, V1 Moist. You guys were, I think, 3-1 here, or something. I think you guys went 3-1 in favor of Moist. I'm going to go 3-2, because kind of in the same way that I think Endpoint make things difficult in themselves, Moist, I think, in these kind of matches have done the same thing several times. They've gone to Game 5s, Game 7s so many times in matches against teams exactly like V1. But when they've got to Game 5, they've crushed it. So I think Moist are going to win 3-2. Because they're icy in Game 5. But yeah, they do go there an awful lot. They go there a lot. I think V1's got a great chance here. As well. I really rate V1 a lot. I think they've improved since the winter split. Become the clear third best team in NA. Compared to before, they were kind of 4th, 5th. Now they're improved, but Moist are a different level, so I'm going to go Moist. BDS SSG, you guys I think said 3-1 for this, and I'm going to agree. BDS don't like to make things difficult themselves. They like to just get it over with, get the job done. And Space Station have looked, like I said, pretty inconsistent this split. BDS have been, overall they split the best team in EU, so there's definitely a gap here. You're looking at best team in EU versus 4th best team in NA. I think it's going to be 3-1. I think you've got to give Space Station a game. I don't think you can call it a sweep, because Space Station they're a nasty team. They come up with very good ways to make other teams uncomfortable, mainly with off the ball plays. People don't like playing against them. I think I like 3-1 on this for that reason. BDS they're definitely a lot higher up in the rankings right now, because of Space Station's inconsistencies and BDS ridiculous run they've just been on. And also with Seiko being added to the roster. Yeah, you can't give Space Station nothing here. Okay, this is another big one. I think this is the most interesting bracket. FaZe, Falcons. I thought you guys were going to pick FaZe here, and I was going to disagree, but you didn't. You guys actually picked Falcons, and so am I. I'm picking Falcons over FaZe. And I think you guys also went 3-2, so I'm doing the same score as Twitch chat here. I think Falcons take this. Again, they've looked just insanely good online. Do I think that's going to translate well onto LANs? Yes, because they've played a ton of LANs in Saudi Arabia as well, and those LANs have looked the same as online in Saudi Arabia. So, if their online is insane, I think their LAN's going to be insane as well. And in terms of playstyle, I don't really like this matchup for FaZe playstyle-wise. FaZe have done pretty well against teams who just play simple Rocket League. Teams like Endpoint who don't really do anything, too crazy. They just give the ball to Seiko and he air dribbles back in the day. Seiko's trying to make big individual plays, but they are kind of predictable. Endpoint, when they were playing with Seiko, were kind of a predictable team. They would just win because Seiko was really, really good. It wasn't because they were doing things that nobody saw coming. You saw exactly what Seiko was going to do, and there was nothing you could do about it. But FaZe are the kind of team who are good at dealing with things like that. They're good at dealing with teams who play like simple Rocket League, like even BDS. They played simple but effective Rocket League. FaZe actually liked that matchup. Now Falcons aren't that kind of team. Another example of a team that's not like that is Moist, who FaZe very much struggled with at the Winter Major. Does that defense work well against a team who never attack the same way twice? Not as much. I think that FaZe are still a bit too reactive for my liking, and they rely too much on crazy goal line saves, and I don't think that's the way to play against Falcons. If anything, watching teams play against Falcons online, it's the teams who do take the fight to them that did the best and actually got some series wins on them. If you sit back, you lose. So FaZe, I don't like the matchup for them here. I think that, the nightmare matches for FaZe stylistically are Moist and Falcons, because they're the most just ridiculously aggressive and very creative teams as well. You've got Ahmad, and now you've got a completely free up TRK as well. The previous Falcons, SRG, TRK is having to play a lot more defensively because Senzo is in the roster. Now they've got Khaled, so TRK is unleashed, and he's literally just another Ahmad. You've got Ahmad and another Ahmad now. And you guys, if you liked what you saw from Ahmad at the Fall Major, now there's 2 of them. TRK, he scores just as many clips as Ahmad does. They're crazy, crazy consistent with it as well. Just a ton of LAN experience, ridiculous consistency. I think it's a Falcons win there. But close though, very close. I think all these are very close. So, lower bracket, FaZe Karmine Corp. This won't be immediately after, I don't think. I've not seen the day-to-day schedule yet. I don't think it's out. No, it's not out on Wikipedia. But I'm assuming that since there's only 2 LAN days, and that's going to be the top 8, I believe. I can't actually remember. Is it going to be top 8? Is that what it's going to be? I can't remember what it is. Type 1 in chat if it's top 8 on the last 2 days. Top 8? It is? Okay. So if it's top 8 in the last 2 days, then these games are not going to be on the same day as these games. Which I think is a big deal. Because if these games, if FaZe lose to Falcons and then they have to play against Karmine Corp same day, that's not good news at all. But actually, if all of these games are happening over the course of 3 different days, then I don't think you're going to have problems like a team dropping down to losers and losing immediately. Stuff like can often happen in this situation because these games do happen on the same day, and also this situation, these games happen on the same day. At Winter Major, both the teams who lost upper semi lost in lower quarters as well. And the team who lost in upper final lost in lower final. You know, it happens a lot when you have to play on the same day, but that's not happening here. So I think FaZe will have the edge over KC. I'm quietly confident in this one. Because, you know, Karmine Corp are just not consistent enough for me to predict them going 3-2 with FaZe. Not quite. It's close. It could be, you know, it's either one of these. But I'm quietly confident of FaZe here. If it was same day, I'd probably be going 3-2, but it's not. It's a different day, so I'm going to go 3-1. I think FaZe are going to come in here. And, yeah, they've done well against every EU team that's not Moist in the past. It is the same day? Wait, is it actually? These 2 games are on the same day? No way, really? So wait, how does it work? What is day 1? Is day 1 this? There's no way that they'd put that on the same day. Surely not. In a regional, yes, but not in the major. There's a major. Yeah, online, because this is day 1 and online, but online is different. Online's a 3-day event. The major is a 5-day event, so I'm pretty sure this is a different day. Not 100% sure. I'm assuming. I don't think the days have been released yet, and I'm assuming that they're not on the same day. Maybe they are, but I think FaZe are going to win either way. Karmine Corp, they've had some great moments, but overall not consistent enough. FaZe are very, very consistent on LAN, and they've shown that they can make lower bracket runs. So I think lower bracket's not going to be a problem for them. Yeah, Karmine Corp, a bit too dodgy in defense. They're going to leak a lot more goals. I don't think their rotation is as tight as Falcons is. And although Karmine Corp can make those big unpredictable clips and plays, I think they overextend a lot more to do it still. And they have been punished more recently. Yeah, I think FaZe win this. Yeah, gonna get ratio by Nolly on Twitter. I know. Nolly's ratioing it. And anybody who predicts that Karmine Corp are going to lose a series, Nolly just types full stop and reply to the tweet and ratios you instantly. What are the Karmine Corp superfans called? I've forgotten the name for them. It's the Hypers or something, is it? What are they called? They are definitely insane. Okay. SSG Endpoint. The Ultras, that's the one. Yeah, the Ratio Titan was a good tweet. That was very good. It was also crazy how many likes that got, but the Hypers, yeah, the Ultras. Sorry, I got a bit confused there. SSG Endpoint. This is the first time I'm going to deviate from you guys because you guys went SSG over Endpoint. But I like Endpoint in this one. I think Endpoint are going to take down SSG. Bosh. And I'm not even sure why. I just think I like Endpoint in this matchup. But I'm not doing this just to be different because I think every other until now, I'm pretty sure that me and Twitch chat have the same winner in every single series. I'm not doing this just to be different. I think, yeah, Bosh. I think Endpoint might just do quite well here. You know, Space Station are probably going to go for a lot of demos, and Endpoint's Relating Wave did tweet something about not liking the demos BDS were were going for versus them. But I don't know. I think they did pretty well actually defending against demos. Like when I was casting BDS endpoint the other day, well, just yesterday, BDS went for a lot of demos early on. It didn't really work that well. I think they overdid it, and it was too obvious. So they dialed it down a little bit, maybe a bit too much. And then towards the end of the series, they started like mixing it in a little bit, only going for it sometimes, and that worked well. So I don't think I've ever seen a team just like, demo spam endpoint and it works well. I don't know. Endpoint are quite good. They're quite a good defensive team. They're very organized defensively. So it's going to be a very interesting match. I could see this one pulling Space Station out of their comfort zone because Space Station don't really like that too much. They want a team to come and take them on, come and challenge them. But with Archie on the roster, Endpoint are a very, very different Endpoint to before. Archie's very defensive compared to Seiko. So now you've got, Archie Relating Wave on the same team. They're both very good in defense. And Metsonoris is playing out of his mind as well. So yeah, I think I like V1 over Endpoint because I rate V1 more than I rate Space Station right now. I don't know if that's something everybody does. I think a lot of you guys are kind of rating SSG and V1 around about the same level. But I think V1 are a level above SSG right now just because they're more consistent throughout this split. It looks like they've improved since winter, whereas SSG, they hit one good event, and then the two events after that have not been great, actually. The two most recent events for SSG have not been great, so I am taking that into consideration, and that's why I rate V1 higher than SSG at the moment. I think Endpoint, Bosch, top 8 versus SSG. V1 Pioneers, you guys, did you go 3-1 on this one, or 3-0? I can't remember. SSG have the same domestic results as last split. I'm not sure what that changes, but yeah, I wasn't all that impressed by SSG's results going into last line either. They kind of got lucky that Sandrock weren't there, because I think Sandrock win that group if they're there. SSG and Dig didn't look good enough in the group stage to beat SRG, in my opinion. You guys went 3-0 here. I'm gonna give no games to Pioneers. I think it's 3-0. No, I'm very confident Pioneers. I think V1 win this. I think V1 are very, very good right now. I think V1 are great. Clear third best team in NA, in my opinion. And they've got quite a good bracket, I think, because although they do have to run into Moist, I think their round 1 match is one of the better ones. With Endpoint, I think they're going to kind of like this match. Because Endpoint do let teams come at them, and that's going to give a ton of space for Beast Mode to make big plays. I think Beast Mode is going to thrive. And yeah, similarly here, I think they're just going to be too much. They're just too good right now. I really rate V1 right now. Right, Furia Liquid. This is another POG match. But a very difficult one to predict. Because earlier on I highlighted that this is Liquid's debut LAN. And also, I think before that, I was talking about how this LAN could go one of two ways for Liquid. Either they, just go into it with the mentality of, let's just have some fun with this because we don't need to worry about Worlds scenarios or qualifying for Worlds. This is the last event of the season for them no matter what. That could be a relief. But on the flip side of the coin, it could be extra pressure because they don't have Worlds to look forward to. So this is their Worlds. I don't know which one it's going to be. I really don't. But I expect Liquid to either play with complete freedom, not a care in the world, or look like the most nervous team here. I don't think there's going to be any in between. I think they're either going to look like super nervous or they're not going to care. And the fact that they've looked so nervous in all the qualifiers they've ever played in, I don't know, this team just always looks nervous to me the way they play, but they're so talented that they still win even when they're nervous. But yeah, Furia, tried, tested, proven LAN team. They looked ridiculously good at winter. I had Furia beating KC. I think it's going to be similar. I think Furia are going to take down Liquid as well. I think Furia top 8. When I think about who would I put money on if this match is actually happening? Furia. because they're proven. I've seen them do well against so many different teams now. They beat Endpoint twice. They beat NRG at Winter. They lost by 1 game against Queso. Took G2 to game 6. You know, this is a very, very good team. And I think people still to this day underrate them. I think people still underrate Furia. So I think Furia take this. I think they're just insane. They only lost in Winter to Renegades, who's their Kryptonite, and the 2 teams who were in the final of the entire event. Bad matchup for Furia? I don't think so. I think Furia are going to love this. Because Liquid are very mechanical, but Liquid are also quite defensive. So that's going to be a great matchup for Furia, stylistically. I think this is the most controversial one for me in my bracket. But, you know, Endpoint, I think they will prepare well. I think they've got some things that they can improve on, but they've got time to improve it going into Winter. They're still a new team, and they've shown clear improvement from one event to the other so far this split. Liquid defensive? Yeah, I think so. I think Liquid's a defensive team. You guys have a different idea of defensive team than me, though. You guys think defensive team means that they hide behind the ball and try and 50-50 all the time. That's not what I mean when I say defensive. I just mean like they will back off to, you know, position more deeply in the field. I think of defensive and aggressive pretty much completely about where a team's positioning, not what they're doing on the ball. Liquid are a very defensive team positionally. They do give the other teams quite a lot of space to play with. Compare that to a team like BDS, who are super aggressive. They just never give anyone any space. Teams like Falcons, ridiculously aggressive. That's what I mean. And they're very good at that. I mean, Liquid, FaZe, very defensive teams, but they're very good at it as well. They're very good at playing on the back foot. And it can work. Especially FaZe have proven that can work on LAN to a certain degree. Maybe it doesn't win LANs, but it does well at LANs. Yeah, I think Endpoint are going to improve going into LAN. Not enough to beat V1, but enough to beat SSG. I think there's a difference right now. I rate V1 over SSG. Might end up being wrong. SSG are a very difficult team to predict, so let's see. Anyway, onwards. Do Endpoint beat FaZe? No, I don't think they do. In fact, I think I'll give that a 3-1. I'm confident, actually, that FaZe will beat Endpoint. Just like I think they're going to beat Karmine. You know, FaZe, I have struggling against Falcons, because Falcons are just ridiculous. It's not because I think FaZe are bad. I think FaZe are very good. I think they're one of the best teams of the event. I think Falcons are also one of the best teams of the event. But do I have Karmine Corp and Endpoint in one of the best teams of the event list? No, I don't. I don't think these are in the same conversation. One of the best teams of the event. Actually, Acronic asked me earlier who's my top 6 if there's no pressure, and I had Team Liquid as my number 6, or top 6. My top 6 was G2, Moist, BDS, FaZe, Falcons, Liquid, in no particular order. If there's no pressure, those are my top 6 teams. But I think there is a ton of pressure on Liquid, and that's why I don't have them in the top 6. It's because I'm taking that into account. And you know, the LAN debut versus a team with lots of LAN experience, team who have done well on LAN before. You know, LAN debut for Karmine as a team versus a team who are proving themselves on LAN. This is you know, these are things you have to consider, I think. So yeah, I think FaZe are just more mechanical than Endpoint, and they've shone in matches like this in the past because Endpoint play pretty simple Rocket League. FaZe they love going against teams who play simple Rocket League because they're quite a defensive team. They just wait for their team to make plays and they react. And when they get into attack, FaZe are phenomenal. They can all make solo plays. They're all great passers. So yeah, I think FaZe, and I'm confident of those two because I think there is a difference in level. I think FaZe are in one of the best teams of the event. Karmine Corp, Endpoint, tier below. Maybe even multiple. It depends how accurate you go with the tiers. Okay, V1 Furia. I'm going to do something that might surprise a lot of people. I'm going to put Furia through. And this is not because I think V1 are bad. I think V1 are great. I think V1 are the 3rd best team in NA. I just think Furia are that good. Furia are just that good. They've proven it in the Winter Major. I think they've proven themselves. They beat NRG, they beat Endpoint twice. Took Queso to game 7. Took G2 to 6. They looked unreal while doing all of that. They played a lot of teams closer than SSG did, than V1 did. So I think Furia will take that. I think they will. Version 1 were eliminated from Winter Major by losing to SSG and FaZe. Furia were eliminated by losing to Queso and G2. Furia had better opponents. In the group stage, V1 managed to sweep, but I think, different game order, I don't think they do that. I think they start really strong, but then that's it. They're just like, let's get right to our best level and stay that way. Hot out the gate, but then that's it. Other teams have more levels. I think Furia are crazy. I think they're insane. Yeah, this bracket here is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. It's insane. Furia, Liquid, V1. Oh man, all the brackets are disgusting. What on earth is this? This is insane. It's actually crazy how stacked this LAN is. Every time I look at it more closely, I'm like, what is going on? How is this lower round 2, lower round 3? Okay, let's go to uppers. Now, you guys had Moist winning, and I agree. These teams are one series win against each other so far. Moist winning the first time they played, G2 winning the second time they played. This is like start of a day. Nobody's had to make a massive lower bracket run. Even footing. Moist are the home team. I think if you consider these teams equals in terms of skill, which I think they're very close. Personally, I think they're very close. Then I think you got to go Moist here because they're the home team. Home team advantage in terms of time zone. I don't think the crowd is going to be particularly favored because EU crowd actually just cheers for good Rocket League rather than cheering USA and let's go team name clap all the time. So I think we're going to get probably a lot of funny chants for all teams, not necessarily in favor of EU teams. But being in your own time zone is very helpful. Last time G2 came to EU, they didn't look anywhere near as great. Obviously that was the Drees, but Atomic didn't look great on his roster either. Yeah, I think there's an advantage for EU teams here, and not having to play 2 entire series before this will also help Moist, so I've got to go them. BDS Falcons, upper bracket. I'm going to go BDS. I'm going to make it 4-2 because this is not as close of an upper bracket match. I think BDS are just different, and yeah, when BDS play their game, they look unbeatable. I think they're going to play their game. So I'm going to go BDS. I've got BDS winning 3-0, 3-1, 4-2. Definitely the most comfortable run to the final because they are just that kind of team. They don't, like I said earlier, Moist often make life difficult for themselves. Same thing with Endpoint. BDS, nah, they just get it done. They just get the job done quickly. So that's what I think is going to happen. Now G2 FaZe. Very, very talked about matchup recently with FaZe taking down G2 twice in 4-3 wins, G2 sweeping them another time. Very interesting. Very interesting. Now, in the Winter Major, both the teams who lost in the upper semis immediately lost in the lower quarterfinals later on that day. Those teams were V1 and Furia. V1 lost to Space Station in uppers, and they lost to FaZe and Lores. Furia lost to G2 in uppers, and they lost to Queso in Lores. So, if you follow that same pattern, then FaZe are going to win this. I don't think the pattern is going to be followed. I don't think it's going to be followed this time. I'm giving it to G2. I think G2 beat FaZe. Now, a lot of people talking about FaZe. I think Rise said he thinks FaZe are the best team in NA. A lot of people think FaZe are the best team in NA right now. But for me, the reason I think G2 are going to win this is because they just have that X factor on LAN. I think they just got that extra something on LAN. That extra, unpredictable factor. We saw it a ton from Atomic in LA. That is really, really helpful. When you're online, I don't think having that level of unpredictability is as valuable as it is on LAN. On LAN, being unpredictable, being weird, playing differently is so much more valuable because other teams are just more likely to panic on LAN. There's more things going on. The crowd's making a ton of noise. There's lights everywhere. You're not sitting at home in your usual comfort zone. You're full of adrenaline on edge all times. And that's when unpredictable players like G2, I think, gain value. So yeah, G2 FaZe matchup. I'm still leaning G2 on LAN. But if this is online, I might predict FaZe. But it's not. It's a LAN. So I'm going to go G2. Alright. Falcons Furia. You guys didn't have this matchup, did you? You guys had Falcons Liquid and you guys had Falcons winning 4-2, I think. Now, we've seen Falcons 3 times in the past 2 split. 1 time in the winter, it was Regional 2, and 2 times in spring. I'll actually show you guys rather than just explaining it. So let's go to winter split, and also spring event 2 and 3. So here's winter Regional 2 for Middle East North Africa. No, sorry, that's spring. This is winter. MENA, if it loads, MENA, Regional 2. So we've got Regional 2, this is Regional 3. So here's Regional 2 for the winter. Falcons lose 4-2 to Scythes. Well, it's, no, sorry, Sandrock, not Falcons. They were Sandrock back then. Sandrock lose 4-3 to Scythes, then they go 4-1, 4-1, 4-2, 4-0, 4-0. Lower bracket seemed to be a different beast for Falcons. Now, spring split Regional 2. They lose 4-2 in the upper bracket. Then they go 4-0, 4-2, 4-0, 4-0, 4-0. 20 games, 1-2 loss in lower bracket. Then regional number 3 main event. Falcons lose 4-1 in the upper bracket. Then they go 4-0, 4-0, 4-1, 4-0, 4-2. 20 wins, 3 losses. Lower bracket Falcons, lower bracket Sandrock is a different beast. I don't know how they do it, but yeah, their 3 lower bracket runs throughout the season are 20 wins. And, well, in this one, they lost 4. This one they lost twice. This one they lost 3. 20 and 4, 20 and 2, 20 and 3. Ridiculous level. Their lower bracket level, like level up, is higher than any other team. So for that reason, I think it's pretty obvious that Falcons are going to 4-0 Furia. They're going to 4-0 G2, and we'll just put in the 4-0 because it doesn't matter who they play in the lower final. It's obviously going to be a 4-0 as well. So we'll just go ahead and get all of that in there. Now, on to the upper final, Moist BDS. This is a spicy one. This is a spicy one. Because Moist, talking a lot of trash about BDS, mainly Rise, saying that Monkeyman is the Taroko of EU. I disagree with that statement, but I like that he made it. It's very interesting that he would say that thing. Now, I said that I'm picking teams like G2 over FaZe because I think that although FaZe have got a crazy level right now and they seem to really have hit their stride, there's just something special about G2 on LAN that just makes me think that they're gonna have the X factor. They're gonna make the difference in that matchup, and that's why I think Moist are gonna have the same advantage over BDS. You know, BDS, they have the system, they have the rotation, they have the play style that works for them. But Moist have just got something extra. They look like they're playing a different game. They're just different, and now they're on again. I saw that what I saw in Regional 3 is the Team Queso of old, and now the Moist of now. I think they're gonna take that. I think Moist are gonna beat them. They've proven they can do it. BDS destroyed them the first time they played this split, but Moist beat them the second time, and I think they're gonna do it again. But obviously, like I said, yeah, Falcons are in a lower bracket, so I mean, it doesn't matter what BDS do. But plus, yeah, upper final going down, big L. So now grand final, like what did Falcons do in grand finals? 4-0, 4-0. Okay, just had to double check. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward then. Just put that one in there because literally we've got all the evidence right here. What happens? Falcons lower bracket run into reset. Yeah, it's always a 4-0, so I guess we'll just do that. But okay, for the grand final, who do I think is winning this event genuinely? Who's taking the whole thing? I think Moist are taking the whole thing. I think they've got a job to do. They've got to prove that they are that team. They didn't get it in LA. I'm sure they would have loved to, but they didn't. But that just set them up for the chance to do it in London. So there you go. There's the bracket, ladies and gentlemen. I said that, at the start of the bracket, you guys were kind of on the same page as me, and then it really went in a different direction later on. But I like my bracket. I think it's pretty reasonable. We've got plenty evidence of what Falcons do in lower brackets to conclusively say that this is a good prediction bracket. You can't debate that. It's a good bracket. Yeah, final standings. Moist, Falcons, BDS, G2, FaZe, Furia, Endpoint, V1, Karmicor, Pioneer, Space Station. Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah, Liquid. it's kind of a coin flip for me. Kind of a coin flip. I think the hardest teams to predict are Liquid and Space Station for me, because Space Station have been so inconsistent this split, and also their run at their run in LA was helped by the fact that Sandrock weren't there in their group. Otherwise, I don't think they win that group. So I think their third place, hey, they deserved it because they got the win on Dig and V1. But it was a Mickey run because there literally was a team who didn't show up. They'd say so themselves. I'm sure they would have rather Sandrock be there so they could play them. That's why it's tough to predict Space Station. Not a lot of evidence on them, except their online inconsistency and Liquid being such a nervous team online when the pressure's on, and the pressure is going to be on here. So let's take a look what that does to the world region spots. So my world's region spots, Sam hang on to their spot. EU4 falls further behind it. NA4 lose a spot to MENA. So that would mean in my world, BDS, G2 FaZe, Moist, Falcons, NRG, Endpoint, Furia all qualify for World's main event. Complexity do not make it in because NA only got 3 main event spots instead of 4. Instead of 4, and no EG for EU either. Renegades make it in over Power, and the club, which is KV1's 3v3 team, make it in thanks to Furia getting them an extra spot. But I think regardless of what happens, I expect there to be 3 SAM teams minimum at Worlds. Because if the club don't make it in, if Furia can't get SAM an extra spot and bring the club with them, then I think the team that will get that extra spot will be NA4, which is Complexity, which, hey, is another SAM team. So I think no matter what, we're going to see 3 SAM teams. I would love it to be both, to be honest. I wish we could have both. You know, chuck out Envy or Semper or something. Teams that are just completely changed throughout the entire split. But yeah, you know, Envy and Semper did earn it. They've been consistent throughout the season.